Recording in progress. pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. I'd like to call the Planning Commission meeting of August 27th to order. What? The 4th? The 24th. Thank you. I'm way ahead of myself.
Lost 3 days.
Yes. Then we have a preliminary plat on the agenda, so I'll read the instructions for preliminary plats. The Planning Commission is tasked by the city's subdivision ordinance to conduct a public hearing on proposed preliminary plats that have been found to be complete by the Community Development Department. At the conclusion of the public hearing, the Planning Commission is required to review the proposed preliminary plat and provide comments and make recommendations regarding the plat to the Community Development Director. The Planning Commission does not approve or reject the proposed preliminary plat, but provides comments or recommendations based upon the public hearing and the Planning Commission's review of the proposed preliminary plat. So with that said, let's go. The third item on our agenda is consideration of the minutes from July 27th.
Chair, can we do the action minutes approval? It's right above there.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve both the action minutes of Wednesday, July 27th, as well as the work session action minutes of the same date.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, that's unanimous. The next item on the agenda is consideration of preliminary plats.
Mr. Chairman, a little concerned as I reviewed the plat for this evening. In noticing all of the information in regards to this plat, which is located in the city of Milton, all of the general notes refer the construction work materials improvements will conform with Forsyth County, Georgia. And it is mentioned in 3 places. I don't feel that we should be looking at this plat this evening since it has nothing whatsoever to do with the city of Milton.
All right. Yeah, it does mention everything about Forsyth County in here, like you said, in the general notes. And the Forsyth Director of Engineering. I guess what are our options at this point? Paul, Paul, should we go ahead and hear this? Should we not? I mean, it's not complete.
Unfortunately, my version of it is very small, and I'm not. Give me one sec, just to. You say that these were in the general notes?
Yes.
Okay.
Number 1, number 5, no. Number 1, number 7.
13.
And 14.
And 14. And 13. 13 and 14.
I think because you're not an approving body and you're tasked with providing comments and suggestions, I think that you can review it and pass along the comments that it does not appear to, that those particular notes do not appear applicable, and that it doesn't appear that approval would be appropriate with those notes included, and pass those comments on to the director and any other comments you may have. I think you're tasked with reviewing it. That's one of the things that you can review and provide those comments.
But Paul, how can we review it if we don't know that the statistics that are in here are in regards to our city of Milton versus Forsyth County?
So can I interrupt? So this is a preliminary plat. It's very basic. It's not an engineered, I think they've kind of combined a lot of engineering notes in there that aren't really applicable at this point. But I apologize for that oversight. You can make comments, and before anything is approved by the director, then they would have to rectify the plat, the physical plat or preliminary plat to reflect the correct notes, so.
And your recommendation can be, recommend that this not be approved as indicated,
Okay.
but with that specific reference.
I think that'd be the bare minimum. And we do have people from the community here to speak, so I'd at least want to hear them and go, after we go through this. So I think, let's go ahead and, I mean, as elementary as it is, saying, please make sure this is in Fulton County. Let's go ahead and at least review our issues, review what's going on, and again, put big and bold that this is a Fulton County project. Our recommendations.
And Tracy's here to present the plat.
Okay, so this is the preliminary plat for 14140 Freemanville Road. It is the property of V.O. Hodis. It is in the rural Milton overlay district. The zoning is AG1. It's a total of 9.079 acres. The existing use is for one single-family home. The proposed use, however, is for 6 single-family homes. So the owner is indeed V.O. Hodis. The site planner is BC Engineering, and the proposal of this preliminary plat is to subdivide the 9.079 acres into 6 single-family lots for a density of 0.66 lots per acre. On the right for the location map, this property is located along Freemanville Road, just south of Red Road and Phillips Road, and it's to the west of Redstone subdivision. The proposed site plan for this property shows the 6 single-family lots, all in 1 acre or larger size. They range from 1 to 1.20 acres. There is a detention pond located on an individual standalone lot. The subdivision is proposed to be a private gated subdivision. And there are steep slopes present on site, but there are no lots that contain more than 5,000 square foot on any individual lot or area. Lot number 6 is the existing single-family home that's on the property, and it is proposed to remain. They're actually remodeling that home right now. It's a common area that would contain a mail kiosk, and again, it will be a private gated subdivision. With that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay. Buddy, the owner is the owner and the engineering company here? Are they present?
We do have a representative for the property here, yes.
All right. Let's ask some basic questions if we have them, and then bring up the owner and engineering firm to talk us through any questions. All right. Well, let's hear from the applicant.
Reese?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'm Scott Reese of Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia 30004. I'm here tonight representing Mr. Hodis and his family in their application on the preliminary plat. First, I would like to apologize for the oversight on the printing. That's just in the general notes. The plan itself was reviewed by our engineer and our hydrologist with Milton's professional staff. We are on some reiterations, and that was just a typo. Once again, I apologize for that, but that's just in the general notes. This is a by right subdivision. I'm sure you're all aware that City of Milton has in their ag zoning, a minimum 1 acre lot size. These lots either meet or exceed that density. As you go through, we meet site distance requirements. We have done the level 3 soil survey. You should have a second sheet that shows a proposed representative box for a house, an initial and reserve septic system, the stream buffers, the detention pond size based upon preliminary hydrology, being fully aware that it will shrink or grow as the final hydrology is performed. Don't really know what else I can say other than it meets the subdivision ordinance for the City of Milton. If you have any questions, I will be glad to attempt to answer those. Thank you so much.
All right. Anybody have any questions at this point? Or, okay. All right, why don't we call for public comment then?
Mr. Chair, I would like to invite Linda Ferris to the podium.
I'm Linda Ferris, and for the past 25 years, I've lived at 14090 Freemanville Road, which is at the corner of Phillips Circle on the south side. Phillips Circle is a horseshoe. And if you all have never been down Phillips Circle, it is a gravel road, and we have horse farms. I myself have horse farms. I'm very concerned about what this retention pond is going to do to attract mosquitoes, because there is a horse farm to the right of the property, as well as going to be one directly behind the property at the base of Phillips Circle. But also I'm concerned about clear cutting the land and taking all the trees away. We have a lot of turkeys in that area, wildlife. Turkeys roost in those trees. They live there. They live on, some of them unfortunately don't live on my property. I'd love to have them live there, but I do feed them. There's deer. I love wildlife. I love animals. Obviously, I wouldn't have horses if I didn't love animals. But my concern, again, is there is a, as I understand, and again, I'm not sure I won't say the correct verbiage here, but there are some wet water streams that when we have heavy downpours, and one of them, I believe, runs through that property. And I'm concerned when you clear cut that land and take all of it, which is on a slope going down to Phillips Circle at the base of the U, you're going to create more erosion problems than that property below knows that is coming, because they haven't moved in there yet. They tore the existing house down there, and they haven't built their horse farm yet. It's to be done in the future. But nevertheless, you've got a retention pond right up against, and it was Mrs. Dinsmore's property at that time. Again, I'm concerned for the wildlife. I'm concerned for erosion. And also, my additional concern is another subdivision on Freemanville Road. Freemanville Road is a very dangerous road because people don't know what 45 means. They think it means 55, 65. I've even seen one motorcyclist, he had to be doing 100 miles an hour. Unfortunately, there's never a policeman around when you need one to stop somebody else, of course. But again, with you putting 6 houses there at approximately, well, they put 3-car garages up there yet, so there's going to be 3 more automobiles per household there, 18 to 24 more drivers on the road. And where that driveway is located, when they pull out and come up Freemanville South, they go into this little hole there, and suddenly they're upon you. Those of us who pull out directly from our driveways to Freemanville, all the additional traffic you keep giving us makes it very difficult for us to pull out of our driveways safely. Again, my concern, I would love to talk to somebody further about that retention pond, because I do believe those are mosquito magnets. And for those of us who have horses, we are very concerned about mosquitoes because they carry a very deadly disease which can kill a horse. I'm sorry, but my animals come first. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to call Mr. Mark O'Neill to the podium.
Deja vu, I was here in April doing the same thing. I think it was a different crew at that time. My name is Mark O'Neill. I live at 14085 Freemanville, directly across the street from Linda. And we have a small horse farm there. We've been there for 23 years. And when we first bought out here, it was very bucolic and very, it was a horse agricultural type of area. And what we've noticed in the last year, I'll just go straight to the traffic problem I've seen on Freemanville Road. I don't know if any of you live on Freemanville Road, but we do. It literally sounds like you're on the side of I-95 at rush hour. And it's because of the overbuilding in the area. And I'm not blaming this particular group, but it's happening in general. One of the other things I've noticed about the excess traffic on Freemanville, okay, ever since they built up downtown Alpharetta, all the heavy commercial trucks are not going through that area. They're cutting through to go around it to get to Forsyth County back out to Highway 9, and vice versa the other direction. I mean, tractor trailers, dump truck after dump truck. And that hill that subdivision is going to be put on is very dangerous most of the time. And in the wintertime, when we have like occasional ice storm, that entire hill turns to a sheet of ice. And you don't see it till you go right by my house. Next thing you know, you're on ice this thick and you're in a ditch. There's that to consider. Okay, but along with Linda, our farm's filled with turkeys, and we have all kinds of herds of deer. And I know they breed and nest and whatever you want to call it up there in that hill. You're going to drive all them out. Where are they going to go? There's that. Okay, and Chicken Creek, there's a lot of underground streams that run out through there. One comes across the back of our property. You bulldoze all that land and put in all those septic tanks. Where's it going to leach to? The underground water. There's that to consider as well. So I want your consideration in knowing that those of us that live there, we really don't want this right on top of us. Find somewhere else. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Lauren O'Neill.
Good
I
evening.
am Lauren O'Neill. My husband Mark just spoke. My neighbor just spoke. I live at 14085 Freemanville Road, and we lived here for 25 years. We've raised our kids here. I have a small horse farm. I had my business there. I gave lessons. It's right on dirt road, so you can ride off property, which you can't find that. It is so precious. And if we bulldoze this and we don't protect what we have, you don't get it back again. Once it's bulldozed, there's no coming back. We raised our kids here. It was the best schooling system in the state that we have right here in Milton. My son used to play baseball over at Hopewell Park when it was just a big backyard playground, which is what it used to be. Parents would tend the concession stand, and it was wonderful. It was a great, great time. It's all big and pretty now. My son and daughter don't live with us anymore, but they're all grown and moved away. As far as the horses go, I had my business here. I taught many, many children how to ride. We would go riding down the dirt roads on the lake property. It was just such a wonderful life. And I think that we should preserve this and protect this, because once you bulldoze, who knows if it's going to perk? No one knows if it's going to actually happen or not. And you're going to bulldoze this for what? What reason? I did not sign up for this. I did not sign up to have to come out and fight for our property all the time. Wasn't expecting to have to do this, but here I am again and talking about the same thing. And I think we should realize what we have and protect it. You can build houses anywhere. it's going to look like Johns Creek if we're not careful. What keeps Milton unique and wonderful is the horses. If we can keep the horses, keep the land, which means we keep the horses, Willis Park, I would take my kids to Willis Park and go showing. I have showed there. And they're making a beautiful place. If you haven't been there lately, oh, they're making such improvements. It's beautiful. We would like to have people actually use it. And to use it, we have to protect the land so that the horses, they can go to it. That's all hand in hand, all hand in hand. This you can build anywhere else. Please just don't build it here. Don't build it here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next participant wanted to have staff read this into the record. Her name is Robin Damron at 14260 Freemanville Road. She's in opposition of the item, but she states, "We do not need a subdivision along Freemanville Road. We need to keep Milton rural. It's bad enough with the roundabouts and traffic calming devices to be built in front of my home at the corner of Red and Freemanville." That was it. And that's,
Oh, okay, you did want to speak? Okay, please, yeah, come and state your name.
I
and-
do not.
yeah, Please state your name and address.
Thank you for listening. I'm Robin Damron. I live at the corner. Y'all may know me from before. I was always up here talking about trying to subdivide that particular property, which I'm very much against. And I was very much against the traffic calming devices they're going to try to put at Freemanville and Red, because that's where my house is. So I'm all about keeping Milton rural. I'm very concerned about the drainage issue that's going to be there. I have a small horse farm. I have a little over 7 acres on the corner there. So if you're coming down Red, you can only go right or left on Freemanville, but if you go straight, you're in my pastures. So I just want to bring up something as well with regard to the animal life there. I have 2 complete families of deer that I feed on my property. One mom actually has 3, which I can't even believe, babies. They're about 4 months old now. And one mom has 2. And I have the bucks. I got an 8-point buck that comes by and 2 6-points. My son's like, "Mom, that's unbelievable." And I'm like, "I know, but they're there." So yeah, when we clear cut all of that, where are they going to go next year or the following year? I don't know what is the time range before this particular plat is finished with all these homes. I don't know, but it's going to take more than a year, I feel certain. I also want to bring up about, this doesn't touch on this issue really, but it's something to think about. The roundabout that they're putting at Bethany and Hopewell. Now, how long have they been working on that? Let's just think about it. Those guys must knock off at 4 o'clock because I'll drive there and they're gone by 4:30. So, but my point is, how long have they been working on that? It's not even near completion. Think about the traffic with regard to dump trucks going in and out. How long is it going to take to build a complete subdivision? I'm 2 doors down from where they're wanting to do this. With all due respect to you and the gentleman you represent, I'm just totally against it. I want to keep it as rural as possible. I feel like, look at Alpharetta, what they've done with Alpharetta now. It's terrible. I mean, I've lived here, my son just turned 28 years. So I've seen it all, as many of you all have as well. I am dreading next year, I guess, is when they're going to put the traffic calming device in front of my home, right there at the corner, because how long is it going to take them to do that? And that's my driveway right there as well. Just yesterday, I was pulling out of my driveway. I had to slam on the brakes because the growth of the trees, you know, we look and we look and we look, and yes, both ends of Freemanville, they just fly around. I pulled out and somebody came out of nowhere and just about hit me. Didn't hit the brakes at all, just hit the horn, trying to get out of my driveway. So y'all need to really consider trying your best to keep what little bit we have of rural growth, which we want to keep it like it is. I mean, there's a big subdivision down Freemanville past White Columns. We don't need a subdivision. We don't need it. We don't want it. We don't need it. And with regard to I guess it's Wood Road, right behind, like my house is here, my pasture is Phillips Circle on the north side. There's dump trucks coming and going. Has anybody driven down Phillips Circle lately? There's big holes, potholes from the dump trucks because they're building something like right there. They're putting a subdivision in right there. So, you know, the dust and the dirt, everything that's being blown up in the air when these trucks go by, they don't give crap, you know, excuse me. Those of you all watching on TV, they don't care. They're just there to dump it and go get another load. They're not worrying at all about us, the people that have to deal with it. So what do you think might be the length of time if you all do move forward with this before it's all finished? Any ideas at all? Do you have potential buyers already for these homes? How many homes? 6? You have 6 buyers.
Yeah,
ready to
please address the commission. You know, this is
I'm
not
just,
designed.
I'm just wondering because, you know, if you got to put a for sale sign out there with regard to the property, I mean, it's just, I think it's a big negative for us, the homeowners that have lived there 28 years. I mean, so that's all I got to say, but I'm against.
All right.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right.
That's it for the comments.
That's it for the comments. Well, I think we need to open this up for questions and discussion amongst us.
I have a question for the applicant. Mr. Reese, I noticed that the Hubbard home to the northeast, yes, east-northeast of this property is located very close to the property line. Do you have any history of this general area? Was this once part of a larger parcel? I noted in the tax records that the Hubbard house was built in 1950 along with an detached garage, and I just wanted to know if you had any history on this land, particularly as it pertains to the proximity of the Hubbard house to the property line.
Yes, so this was all part of the Virgil Dinsmore property at one time. When he passed away, his heirs subdivided, as typically happens. That house or structure that's encroaching into the side building line was either built without a permit or before the permitting process happened. So we will have to, any new structures that we build will have to meet the standards. But the fact that they have built too close to the property line is just something that we have to deal with. But, you know, before Milton was incorporated, my early career, this part of North Fulton was the Wild West. A lot of things got built. There was not a lot of inspections that came out of downtown, Prior Street. As long as the taxis flowed that direction, there wasn't a lot of thought that went in. Basically, it's the reason the city of Milton was created, was kind of this was treated a little differently. So,
Do you know when the Dinsmore property was subdivided?
let's see. So I would guess probably in the early 70s.
Okay, and that house was on the tax
Oh,
records in
that's
1950.
yeah. I mean, it's but it's not the same ramification that it was in 1950. So there's been multiple upgrades and additions and extra outbuildings that have all, but basically everything inside the horseshoe outside of what Dr. Walker's farm was part of the Dinsmore estate.
I have questions for staff, but none more for the applicant.
I've got a few questions. Thanks, sir. All right.
I noticed that our hydrology engineer is here, Jerry. I have some questions for you. And you might want a copy of the plat. And of course, I'm on the page with the septic fields, because that's the important page, right, Jerry?
Mr. Chair, just for the record, my name is Jerry Oberholzer. I'm the development engineer at the City of Milton. My home address is 1855 Penny Stone Way, Snellville, Georgia.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to start in the upper right in Lot 3 on the lower right corner of that lot. Is it unusual to take an intake for a stormwater drain and place it so close to a primary septic field?
Well, the reason the storm drain is there is to catch any water so it can be treated in the pond. We usually like to have a separation between the systems. And usually the problem we have is we don't permit or we are not in charge of the septic systems. We require for that house to be submitted and approved when it comes to first residential building plan. We will require a stamp plan from Fulton County showing that the location's been approved. So we like to keep them far apart if possible, but I think it's like 10 feet. Really, you try to keep away a sewer. I know from a standpoint of our standards in engineering, a sewer line and a stormwater line, you'd like to keep at least 10-foot vertical separation, and you'd like to keep at least 1 foot horizontal. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Yeah, I thought that was a little close. Moving over to the detention pond. I got to read that section of the UDC in review, and Robin also pointed out that a detention pond requires an easement for access, and it does not appear to me that there's an easy access off the public street to be able to access that detention pond for maintenance. It appears the grade to start going down in the detention pond starts right at the southwest border. Is that?
That's going to be something that is a requirement. It has to be a maximum of 20% grade. It has to be 20 foot wide. And really that is for an emergency. We require that in case the city ever declared an emergency, had to go in there and make repairs. We will never own or maintain this one at this time. That's mainly for our access if there's a need for it. They will have to show that on the land disturbance permits. It will have to show the easements. It will show the grades, and that's a requirement. One thing I do want to point out, we don't have any contours or grades showed on the road yet, so we're really not sure of the relationship between what the final cul-de-sac elevation is going to be and what the pond is.
And then moving over to lots 4 and 5, as noted on the topography, from the cul-de-sac, those lots all drain west
Yeah, they drain into the,
to the stream buffer. What actions do you typically take in reviewing land disturbance permits in grading and impact to the stream buffer, given that all water from that land, which I believe is now mostly trees, will be graded?
well, all the impervious surfaces, that water runoff will have to be treated. And we now have runoff reduction. And in other words, it actually has to reduce the runoff. Right now, we just regulated one time, we just regulated the rate of runoff. So when it got to the property line, we never regulated the volume. Well, now we regulate that volume, and we actually look for a reduction in that. When they submitted this preliminary plat, we asked for a TSS spreadsheet, and it's a requirement to show that this design will meet the runoff reduction. What we'll have there most likely is infiltration or flow or bioswales or something that will treat all that impervious surface before it's discharged into the creek. So there will be water treatment. It just won't be handled we just can't get the water over to the lake without mass grading the site. And I don't think anybody wants to mass grade this site.
And then on Lot 5, same comment there about the grade added with the complexity of the primaries in the front yard. But I'm more interested in the steep slopes area, which wasn't in the legend on the first page, but it is better marked on the first page. And I'm noting that the end of the driveway nearer the house, as well as the back corner of the house, is actually on the steep slope. And while that may meet the requirements of the amount of steep slope on a lot, is it unusual to actually build a house and a driveway on a steep slope? And what kind of fill and implications to drainage to the stream does that have?
Well, the plans we've been seeing now, we have been seeing people grade on very steep lots. That's lending themselves to be basement homes and even sub-basements. So a house for this on this lot is going to have to be a custom designed house. And we're really going to watch the impact because you just can't go in there and start moving dirt on steep slopes. We control, from an erosion standpoint, we want nothing steeper than 2 to 1s. And we require that. Basically, you can't get the soil we have in Georgia to stand steeper than a 2 to 1 unless it's granite. So there's going to be a lot of concern. When we review the actual building plan, they're going to have to provide us how they're handling it. We're going to, same with the stormwater, we're going to have to treat all the water off, all the impervious surfaces are going to have to be treated on there. And then we're also going to look at seriously erosion control and how they handle that matter. Yes, ma'am.
And then coming full circle to Lot 2, the preliminary septic field is noted to be on the southeast corner of that lot. And I realize it's a preliminary in case the primary field fails, which we hope never happens. But as a preliminary field, are they allowed to landscape that area to try to block the view of the house that's next door?
I mean, when we look at where a reserve field or preliminary, they cannot do earthwork on that. They can clear it, but they can't be moving dirt because once you move dirt or put dirt on top of it, you compact that soil. So there is no infiltration. You get no infiltration on that.
Can you plant evergreen trees?
Yeah, you could.
You can plant trees, shrubs
Yeah, in the reserve field, we do
in
not,
the reserve field?
you don't want to plant trees in your tile
no.
field or your
Yeah, and your-
drainage field. I mean, you can do it, but then you're going to be replacing them pretty quickly. And I just want to point out, this is very preliminary. We require now the TSS spreadsheet and a preliminary hydrology study. There is a requirement that we have a pre-submittal before the LDP stormwater. And this is a way for us to actually do a check to make sure what they're showing us works and make sure we don't get into LDPs. And when we do our first reviews and we go back and say, basically, my famous quote is, go back and try again. We're trying to eliminate that so we have a good idea before we go into the full design documents.
I have one question. Under the general notes, it says this site does not contain wetlands. This site does not have state waters requiring undisturbed buffers.
That's incorrect.
Oh, okay, that's incorrect also. All right. I was wondering about that.
I believe my own position is that the engineers of records do that on purpose to see if I'm staying awake when I review their plans. So that's a joke, but it's.
And then Trace, you'd mentioned that there's no lot on here that's got more than 5,000 square feet of steep slope. Is that a requirement? Is that because, if you look at lot number 5 there, it's 1 acre and it's got, I'm assuming that's probably has the most. That has to have close to 5,000 square feet. And it's only 43,000 square feet total. So I'm wondering, is that that number? Is that a percentage? Is there a percentage? How does that work?
Per the ordinance, our steep slope ordinance, a lot cannot contain more than 5,000 square feet of steep
Without
slope.
expanding it from 1 acre to 1.5 acres.
Correct.
So it's not that you can't have it, you just have to have a larger lot to accommodate it.
Okay.
I did have one more question for Jerry. Jerry,
Yes, ma'am.
the proposed detention pond, which is in what's considered wet, Madison wet areas from a percolation standpoint, have you found effective means of mitigating mosquito control, other insect control? I know I have, I'm not far from a detention pond, and I have a family of frogs in my pond because they
They love the
must have
mosquitoes.
ran out
Yeah.
of bugs to eat in the detention ponds.
That is a problem we find, and that's when we start dealing with terminology. A detention pond itself is supposed to become dry over a certain amount of period. It detains the water, doesn't retain it. When you do a retention pond, which is a pond, which is one way to treat water quality, you really like to keep about 4 foot of water in it to prevent anything from growing in it. But you do end up having a pool of water. And that was a big objection when the state went to this 20 years ago. Basically, we were creating these breeding grounds for mosquitoes. That's the way the state law has pushed us towards. There's ways of you can put if it becomes a problem. I know when we had the problems about 10 years ago, we were treating it with some type of insecticide, larvicide you put into it. But hopefully these are designed. This is designed. It's a hybrid design. It's got a micro pool. It's got some infiltration, but it also, we're not proposing this to be a wet pond. So there shoulda, coulda, woulda. We're never going to say we're ever going to have dry ponds, but they're supposed to be designed that way. And we try to make sure when they do their as-builts, it functions that way.
What is a micro pool?
It's basically a smaller pond.
Okay.
If you look at if you really want to go to sleep at night, read the Blue Book. That's the state stormwater management tool, and that tells you what a micro pool is. There's different ways of different types of that do better deals when it comes to cleaning water and stuff.
So in theory, does that remain wet? So are we talking about a detention pond, which should be dry most of the time, but a micro pool?
Well, the micro pool should dry out eventually. And really, we should, I know I'm preaching this, but we are entering our dry period. Climatological, usually we start drying out and we'll be very dry until probably around Thanksgiving. But this year could be abnormal.
Okay. Anybody else have questions or?
And I would just like to restate, we will be going, these are very preliminary. We would go through extensive design. Mr. Reese and I get very close during those times. He likes to make plenty of phone calls. So we do look at this and we do go through it with a fine tooth comb.
Okay. And I had one more on the tree canopy. I know there's a statement in here, it estimated 57%. But that allows them, I think somebody raised the question of clear cutting. That allows them to basically cut most of the trees and then replant to that same tree canopy. Is that accurate?
So when the LDP plans come in, our arborists will look to make sure that 57% of the coverage is maintained. And that 57% has to be made up of a third of the existing. So it's not like they can take all of that away and all of the 57% be made up of new plantings. So it's a combination of existing and new plantings.
Okay. And then a lot of people have made comments about the traffic. This based on location, obviously not the size, this does or does not require a traffic study, because I think they bring up some good points about the low areas, and that's Freemanville is just going to get busier.
Again, when the LDP comes in, our traffic department does look at these plans. As of right now, they have not identified that this would require a traffic
Yeah, I mean, it's so little number of houses, but the transportation engineer has reviewed it and made a few comments. And they've been identified and changed per their request. So they did not request there to be a traffic study or, anything like that. So transportation is aware of this subdivision and the potential of the 6 lots, so.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I just had, I mean, just to address, Tracy, if you could, since there was a lot of public comment about, building on this property in general, and just kind of address what is by right, what can be done on this property.
So the property is AG1 zoning. It does allow for 1 acre lots, which the property does allocate for that. So they're proposing 1+ acre lots for each house. It is 6 lots, so it's over that 4 lot, the 3 lot threshold where we have to have a right of way, a 50-foot that likely can go down to a 44-foot right of way, curb and gutter, 24-foot back of curb to back of curb, a substantial turnaround for a fire apparatus to turn around, detention pond on its own lot, separate from that detention pond does not cross any other property line. Setbacks of 60-foot front, 25-foot sides, and 50-foot rears. It will require a certain site distance that our traffic department will review to make sure that the site distance coming out of the neighborhood is sufficient. So all of the typical standards for a subdivision are required for this site, but are by right. And as of right now, the preliminary plat does meet those standards that we have in place.
Just one other question. I know the city council recently approved a requirement that a gate call box. So not only would the gate need to be so many feet from the road, the call box would need to be so far from the road. It appears that meets this requirement, although I know on that curve of Freemanville, it comes up fairly quickly, and I'd be concerned if some landscaping people or somebody had their trailer hanging out on the road, because you do come up on it fairly quickly and it's hard to see. Do we believe that there is adequate clearance for, say, a landscape truck with its trailer, a large delivery truck for furniture, whatever, has enough space there to not cause a safety issue on Freemanville?
That's certainly something that we review on all of our plans. A call box is required to be a minimum of 15 feet from the road, from the right of way, and the actual gate itself 20 feet. But certainly that is a part of the review process once we get the construction drawings submitted, to ensure that if there is, based upon the site distance and the vertical curve of the road, if there's additional distance required, transportation typically mentions that in their review.
And I think it's important to remember that when you look at the site plan, you see the distance from the right of way, but there is a little bit of room. It's not right at the edge of the pavement, but obviously
That's
we would
correct.
want it to be as safe as possible.
That's correct.
And Robert, where did we end up on flag lots? And would 2 and 3 be considered flag lots in this case? This is just for my own education.
I mean, right now, we don't have any exclusion of flag lots. They're not exactly a flag lot. They just have a long throat that kind of they were designed that way to accommodate the detention pond and make it as natural as possible. And we didn't want, walled ponds. So that's why they became a little bit creative with the lot configuration to be able to accommodate a natural non-walled detention. So, but that meets all the regulations for the lot configuration, those 2 lots.
Robin, remind me, the required frontage today is 35 feet,
Right.
and this is 35 feet, 6 inches.
Right.
Or
So
0.6
currently
inches.
it's 35 feet frontage on the road, and then 100 feet at the building line. So they pushed the building line further back on those lots to meet that requirement. Although you will be seeing that text amendment next month in September, so it will be coming upon us very soon, so.
So chances are it would be coming upon us before this is approved.
Well, it's already grandfathered. They've submitted the preliminary plat and everything way even before we started the process, so.
All right. Anybody have any questions or comments or anything for staff or the applicant?
I'd like to say that based on Mr. Reese's comments, that his comments correcting the notes, if this body decides to move this forward, be included to clarify those general notes.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend the following comments be forwarded to the Community Development Director, that the applicant, with assistance of staff, provide a complete and acceptable hydrology study, that the notes be updated to reflect Fulton County, the wetlands, and state waters as actual, and that review be done of the site distance and assure adequate distance from the road to the gate, given the busy traffic on that curve on Freemanville.
Your second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of Commissioner Byrd's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. All right. Now I guess the next thing on the agenda is new business, the status update for the comprehensive land use plan.
Yeah, so we've had the sickness bug come through our department, and poor Jackie's been out for a week and a half. So I'm not going to go through it. I just left it for you to review. I figure we have enough to talk about tonight. So, if you have any specific questions, she is still taking email. She hasn't been in the office for a bit, but she's checking her email. So I'm not going to belabor going through each of them, but you can look at it at your leisure. And if you have any questions, we'd be
Does
happy.
Jack said that doesn't affect any of the dates yet? I'm assuming nothing's being pushed, like the UDC coming on 9/14, that's still gonna.
I'm sorry, I can't hear anything.
No, my question was, with Jackie's absence, that is not gonna affect any of the dates as of yet, correct? Like,
I mean, she just compiles this. She's not in charge of every single project. So she's just make sure we're getting along. So no, it should not impact it. No.
all right, well, I think we should all review this in the next week or two on our own and see if we have any questions.
Question, Robin, I think we had held the completion of the project on trails until the MTAC had its first meeting, and they have. So I assume that has moved to complete since I no longer see it on this list.
Which item is it? I'm sorry.
Actually, it's T4, so I think T4 cannot, on page 3 at the top,
Oh, okay, right here.
I think it can now be complete, because we said that once they had their first meeting, the creation of a Trails Committee, they've formed and they've met, so in my opinion, that's complete.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm not sure if they've met or not.
They did.
They did,
last
okay.
Thursday.
Okay, very good. So, so what are you saying for the next,
So that can be moved to complete,
okay, removed?
so that can go blue.
Okay,
Unless someone has a differing opinion.
oh, right, because they've created the committee, so the whole thing can be
Amendment.
completed, yes. And I'm not sure, I think she was out that week too, so she just updated, so anyway. Okay,
All right, now the UDC code discussion.
very good. So we have, Caleb is here. I know that some of the members have submitted their comments, and we just want to see how you want to go through this. We'll go article by article, or what is your preference?
Well, I don't know if we need to go article by article. I think, Caleb, I think it's, first of all, you're doing a great job pulling everything together. It's a big task. And were there any questions about, the responses you got from us?
Good evening. I reviewed all the comments today that Robin shared, and I think that most of them are very clear. There are a lot of grammatical errors and actually things that are in the current code, I would like to say. I don't believe there was anything that I recall, but let me go through my notes again and just double check. I think there may have been one thing that could have been a policy change that we've tried to avoid any policy changes and really focus on technical cleanup. But if you give me a moment, I'll go through and tell you.
I mean, again,
So, with that said, while he's looking at that, would you be okay with the grammatical errors and all that, just for Caleb to address them and not go through every single one of them?
Yeah, I don't
You're
think-
good with that?
Okay.
thank you.
Oh, come on.
Have all that fun. We don't want to take any of Caleb's fun away from him.
Okay.
I have to say that in addition to wearing thin my style guide on commas and semicolons, and trying to make those corrections, that it did meet the idea that says, can you read it? Does it flow? And many of the things were really more style and presentation, like the first time you use an acronym, spell it out, not the second time, the first time, and then use the acronym thereafter. One thing that I did note, and perhaps it was because section 11 that I reviewed referred to a lot of, which was floodwaters and stormwater and all of that, referred to a lot of federal and state regulations. And I know one regulation that I checked was a reference to a 50-year-old piece of code which no longer exists. So I know when I've done contracts before, we typically will say, reference that and say then, or its successor, so that if the federal government or the state government amends law, we don't have to go in and keep revising it. I guess we'll seek Paul's guidance on how best to handle it, but it seemed like all of the codes referred to a section, some of which didn't exist anymore. And then the other thing I saw pretty generally in my section is it referred to, because of the timing, the Board of Appeals, and we ended up calling it the Board of Zoning Appeals. So there's some things you should be able to do a universal replace. If you see Board of Appeals, replace it with Board of Zoning Appeals. I had that one, all I had, Caleb, was that one page that it's like, an intro paragraph, and the items on the plan should include, no list. Intro paragraph, and the items on the plan should include, no list. Finally, in the third paragraph,
Right,
so that
okay.
needed some cleanup, but
Yeah.
everything else was pretty straightforward. And I tried to, and I think I tried to note where I said, this is more of a code change, put it on that list.
Okay.
I guess this may actually be a question for Robin, because as you know, the citywide buffer requirements were changed fairly recently. And one of the landscape provisions, remember how I
Oh,
had
right,
the old
yeah.
ones in there? There are some cross references to that in Crabapple.
Okay.
And the commissioner who reviewed that particular piece did point out, how do we want to handle that? So I thought that was something that would be appropriate for you to give guidance on. But Crabapple does reference landscape buffers and landscape strips, so we need to figure out if
From
that
that
needs to be
article,
updated. From that
whatever.
article that
That's-
we
we're trying to
got
get
rid
rid
of
of.
and we moved to other
Right.
parts of the code. So
Yeah.
that was the consideration.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, whatever way you think it's the most simplest to handle the buffers and cleaning it, or.
The other, I guess, there's no policy questions, but I do appreciate the level of detail, obviously. I think, again, most of these are very clear. I understand. You mentioned the plain language writing, and one of the things that we have talked about that was not reflected in the draft is going even one step further. as was pointed out, there are some areas where it says the community development department versus the director.
Right.
And I want to make sure that changing that, I'm not, messing something up on the city side. But I certainly will make all of those changes as noted. And then there was another comment about how there's still some Fulton County stuff in there that I didn't even realize was Fulton County. So we'll definitely make those changes as well.
And I think it was just, Commissioner Burrs was talking about, because she reviewed the stormwater section in chapter 11, and I have a copy of all her comments, so I can give them to you. But one of those overall reaching comments she had was about referencing different state and federal regulations and having it so that we don't have to change it, or maybe you did some research and they don't exist anymore or not under that.
Okay.
So I have her copies of her
Okay, great.
comments, so I can give to you
Yeah.
tonight.
So I think the greater question for this board, and I still have half my work to do, is, and I'll try to get that done in the next 2 days, is do we think it will be ready for public review on September 15th?
That's, yeah. It's this, I think it's the 17th,
Or the
oh, the 14th, I'm sorry, kickoff.
14th, sorry.
Public, and I'd like to know too about what that process is. What are we doing to kick this off to the public? Are we, advertising anywhere? Are we just, how are we as a city promoting this?
When does the board think they would have their final
Yeah,
comments?
I guess too, it's, has everybody, I don't know what Commissioner Weissong, where her position is on everything as far as where she is, but I know that if everybody else has reviewed it, and then we can just give all the, typos and technical things to Caleb to fix. And then, obviously tonight we can talk about some of the clarifications and make sure we understand. I know Fred had a few of them that I couldn't really answer, and there, I think Ron did too, that we could discuss. And I think the goal was to give it to, so we have a third party, the Conveo, that is going to basically create use the document and be able to make it searchable and make comments for the public. So I guess that would all have to be done by that 15th date. So that's, I guess, pretty close, right?
3 weeks, yep.
So,
Yeah. I guess my concern would be, we recognize it's a draft, it still needs review. I was actually, from a readability standpoint, pleased with it and things like that. But I don't necessarily want to release something that still has typos and then give the impression to the public that, oh, this isn't very good. And sometimes,
Agreed.
so.
Definitely.
Yeah, I guess my view on the subject is that that's a very, very tight timeline. And I really think that we should probably review this thing one more time. I had a long list of typos. And amongst my questions about clarifications, there were comments as if you looked at 7A versus 7B, things were presented on the same topic, but in different ways. And that seemed to me to be one of the things we're trying to achieve here, is to develop a readable document and something that's user-friendly. And I'm not sure that wouldn't confuse people. And so I'd really like to see us achieve that harmony amongst the various articles, so that it will be easier for people to read and use, for us to be able to use. So I think there's a lot of spade work to do on this thing.
There was one in the review that I did in floodwaters. There was a whole section about managing floodwaters in mobile home parks. And I was like, I don't find those on the use permit.
Yeah, so we don't have mobile home parks.
Yeah,
so-
we'll-
So I kind of marked it as, I don't think we have mobile parks, home parks. Can
And
we
we're-
delete?
We've actually gotten rid of the district anyway, so.
Yeah, and unfortunately that renumbers everything past that, because it was a whole section.
It's all automated. Hopefully, if you saw any X's or insert broken link here, it may not have been automated, but you will get that.
Also, light industrial's been removed since we don't have
Yeah,
light industrial.
Did you found a reference to that?
No,
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So I think the other item that might be a
That was
little
why.
bit
I'm sorry.
newer. Oh, go ahead.
No, to his point, it wasn't questioning, it was that I want to make sure it was removed.
Right.
It was removed, yes.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Didn't have it. That's what.
Right. And so I think the other item that is we don't currently have any C2 zoning district. And so I've asked Caleb to take it out. We still have C1 and we have MIX and the apartment zonings because of some existing apartments zoned to AL and A for their nonconformity in case a tornado came through. So, so he's put the A and AL or the AL back in. So,
I also have to say in my section, there were references to things like, zone AE and AO. And I was like, well, we don't have that zone. And then I realized they were referring to floodwater zones. So we should probably specify, floodwater zones, A130. So that, because my first reaction is we don't have any of that in Milton, but it's not a Milton zoning, it's a floodwater zoning. So just to try to make it so that it's, because our purpose was to clarify and make it accessible to more people.
right.
So I did have some of those like, which, it will be reviewed by the board. Which board? It will be reviewed by the district. Which district?
You had the great disservice of reviewing the part that's the model ordinances from the state, so we can massage them and make them a bit more applicable.
I have a question. What's the last stop from a grammar, like punctuation? Are we the last stop for that, or is there another review?
Well, I
We
think-
can discuss that.
What's that?
I mean, yeah, I'll let you answer.
Oh, I mean, I know also the city attorney is going to be reviewing the whole document as well, but I mean, I think we're asking him to look more for.
And I hope you covered all the commas. I'm not a big.
Oh, hopefully, most of them are already in there though today, so we're going to correct them.
But that's a good question, Trey.
So, I
Who
mean,
who is
yeah.
the,
I mean,
who green lights us?
We'll make this first round, then we can delay the public, public
Oh.
time for them to start, to look at it, to allow time for us to continue on. It's a big document and to be able to get it to the point that it is satisfactory for the public to review.
I guess in Trey's point, who blesses it at the end? Who says, yes, this is ready for prime time. Yes, this is ready.
And also, I think too, I mean, obviously, if we do find extraneous things that just everybody happened to miss, and then in January, as we start going through it, I mean, we'll have another opportunity. But obviously, we wanted to get it to the best position as possible.
I mean, if does the city have a copy editor they ever use?
Well, what do you mean, like Muni code, but when it goes
we don't
there,
wanna
but
go
no,
there, yeah.
no, there's nobody that just looks for, we don't have any copy editor.
Yeah, I will see if we might have some available. I do know I have a woman in my office who's an English major, so I like to give her documents to review. So I will see if she would be interested in helping. If not, we might have a third party. I mean,
Okay.
I think that'd be advisable because I know the sections I covered are probably not perfectly grammatically correct. I don't think you want me correcting the grammar in it.
I'm not the best in our house either in finding those. My wife's
Yeah.
fine. So from a technical perspective, is this all done in Microsoft Word?
yes, sir. We did it in Word, which was quite hard, but that's the way the city can have a version they can edit after.
And then the final product is it HTML? Does it go on a web page?
Well, no, we'll submit it we can export it however you want, but typically we have, there's a PDF that goes into the document that council adopts, and then typically Muni code is sent. I think they're sent the Word files. We normally have to distribute
So
them.
there's
So it
an
makes it
ordinance
Muni
company, Muni
Mhm.
code. Once everything is adopted by the council, then we send the whole thing to them, and it will take them a while to do it. Budgeted multi thousands of dollars for them.
Does Municode have any service that would do any of the proofreading? I mean, the cross-linking, I know looking at the document, it was hard for me to say, okay, does this code exist elsewhere? So
I think
to be able
that's
to
your
click
job.
on it.
Yeah, that would be our job. Any of the, as you've gone through there's a symbology to the colors. So if they are highlighted in yellow, they are an area where I have double checked them, but they're not actually a codified hyperlink. If they're blue, that means they're in the same article and they're a hyperlink. So they'll update as the sections change. But those are notes to myself so that anytime I take something out, I go back and double check. It's kind of frustrating that Word doesn't allow you to insert hyperlinks across multiple documents, but this is 13 different Word files, because otherwise I've had codes where the whole thing crashes and you've lost a week of work. So I break it up into discernible bits.
What about those that you had comments how to decide? Question.
I think we've addressed most of those, but we'll double check. A lot of those were for staff to determine.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you going to go through the ones which?
Right. Well, I can discuss with Caleb and then.
Oh, okay.
On this question of linkages, one of the things that I noticed in my sections, which were 6, 7A, and 7B, that sections of the UDC were referenced, and the references weren't good. So I just suggest you take.
But you have it in your
I have most of it.
comments.
I have most of it in there. But at one point, I just said, "Hold on, I'm not going to do all this. We need to really look through and make sure these things match up." I just don't think there were a lot of good. I found a lot of errors. Let's put it that way.
They had version 2 or 3?
3.
3. Okay.
Yeah, we gave them 3.
So my sense also too is like, for my sections, I would like to see like one more iteration of it. But then I'm wondering if it would be better to say, okay, I've done those. Now, everybody, shift one to the right, or like take different sections the next go round, or what? Or do people want to say, I got my sections, I feel comfortable with them?
But I mean, I guess my question would be, is there a way for you all to go through and see if there's some sections that, are things that don't apply? Some of those we may not know, but before we do another run, get some of those out of the way too. So that way we're not going back through the whole thing again. That's still in here versus if you all, I don't know when that's going to be in the process where you all can say, yes, this is, not applicable. We don't have mobile home parks. We don't have whatever, get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Before we go back again one more time, if we were to do that.
Right. So do you have comments?
I have it. I've already scanned everything to myself, so I'll email it to you.
Okay.
I mean, I've got the hard copies. I just marked it all up. I've got all my,
Okay.
I've got all my markups on grammatical and whatever else on that.
Okay. Okay. And then
I gave my hard copy.
I've got
Yeah,
Fred's.
you can have the, yeah.
And
Caleb, you
then
can have the
we
hard
just had a
copy. I don't know if
few,
that's
right?
easier or
Okay.
I've scanned it,
I
which I'll
didn't
email it
find
to
it.
Robin.
You didn't find it? Okay. Okay. And which articles did you have?
3, 4, 3, 4, and 11, 1.
Okay,
Okay.
tree ordinance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Judy, I had the same thought about shifting. On one hand, I didn't come to any conclusion because it would be easier for me to go back and go through these again with my list, but it wouldn't be a true second iteration of that work. So I think making that sort of a shift would probably end up with a better final product. But
So for example, like I was reviewing my section and it's like, okay, I'm seeing this convention and saying it should, it should be including comma, but not limited to, and sometimes it was one and sometimes it was another. But it's like, whatever it is, it should be the same throughout. But that's something she should be able to do with a global find in place, that we're always going to make it, including comma, but not limited to comma. and he can find those and just say, fix, 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 fix. And rather than me saying it should be with a comma, and you saying it should be without. So that's why I was like, on some of these, it's like, just pick a convention and stick
Yeah,
with it.
yeah, and again, you have the disservice of having the model ordinances that the state gives us, and so we're always hesitant about changing them, but we can certainly, we have the authority to, so.
Okay. So I was wondering if we can just go over some of the clarifications. I know we had some from Fred, and then I think you had some questions. I thought instead of getting into the nitty gritty, at least we can kind of look at them globally or just everybody together.
Okay.
I'm going to start with Fred's because his is shorter, but and Fred was great. He would call me and I would kind of clarify some things. So he definitely had a longer list that we shortened, but I'm just going to, I would say just this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was left
Thank you.
over?
Okay. Ones that weren't, okay.
Okay, so I can bring this up on the,
Gonna
I
bring
have
this up
all
on
the
the red?
articles. I'm going to bring up the article and then so people can see
You bring it up on the white.
on the clean, yeah. So this, although I think I can, although yes. Let me go to the red line, which I believe is on the website. I didn't copy it. It works. Come on. I hope. So let's see if I have the red. I don't know if I have the version or not. Well, you have your red version, right?
I have it on my iPad.
Yeah, okay. So I think we can go through. Let me just do it.
Oh, God.
I think it's just too cumbersome for this, but let me bring up the clean version and then that way. But he also has the, for 9. So I think the first one is 9-7, vehicle parking requirements, why are there red highlights under the red?
Yeah, the red highlight comment should have only been in the red line version, not the final. That was just a way so that I had to figure out as I was taking your current terms and updating them to match the city's updated use definitions. That was just internal notation. for
Right,
me.
so not on the clean version,
not
but
on
he
the
would
clean
just, you were just asking about why it was, but it was just for your coordination.
So I knew that I had done one and I put in the new definition of it, the new term.
Okay, then the next section is 9-14, confused about 9.1.6A, which I can go to.
So this is, except for trucks used for farming, the property on which trucks are located, truck may not exceed, the vehicles exceeding 4 tons may not be stored in an agricultural or residential zoning lot. I think that's a current standard, correct?
Yeah, it came from ours, but I just don't really understand. Except for trucks used in farming, the property on which they, or trucks, 4 tons empty weight. Refer to the tree. Well, then it goes on
There's
to a disconnect.
the format got messed up here. So this is actually a section break. So the truck actually says residential zoning district unless engaged.
Oh, I see,
in-
it came
so
down. Okay, just unless
it's
engaged in
Microsoft
moving.
Word.
Yeah, okay. So, so I guess trying to understand maybe in general what that means. Except for trucks used in farming, the property on which they are located, or trucks used in conjunction with a permitted use, trucks or empty weight shall not be stored or parked in any agricultural or residential zoning district unless engaged in moving household goods and delivery. So does that make more sense, Fred? Yeah, it just got skipped over and then
Okay.
it's just, okay, so that's good. 918, which is assume the director's duty. That's the
We removed the whole,
page 918 on the red line.
no, page
It is.
9 on the red.
Yeah, I didn't get the whole section number. Right, so how you have this out. I was assuming this section that you're talking about, the director has oversight on everything somewhere else.
Correct. There's a general provision, I believe it's in Article 12, that designates the director as the person who interprets and enforces the Unified Development Code. So we don't need to repeat it in every location.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. Okay. And then 9-76 on the red line. Why we're 9.31. 31.
This one refers to the fact that we dropped.
Why were various portions of 9.3, is it going somewhere else, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
So those sections,
Were all
they went to
removed.
other sections?
Yeah, I believe those are now under the part that talks about roadway design. So I'll double check that. You can give me a copy of this, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you write on there, double check to make sure that they've
Okay.
moved?
Okay. And then now 9-80 and 0.3.8 deleted from steep slopes.
Oh, he's checking on the,
Yeah, he's checking on that, yeah. Well, he's gonna check independently about, make sure those items got pushed
So
somewhere
this
else.
question is, again, moved to the general provision. It basically said no land in the basically says you have to follow this section, and we have a general provision at the beginning of the code now that says you have to follow the code. So again, I took that out. There were other things that I can tell you that were very common in all your sections. One was who was the administrator. One was what is the severability, meaning if one of the sections is ruled invalid by a court, it doesn't invalidate the whole document. There was a question about administration, and there was a question about appeals. And so all of those, to the extent that they were identical, have all been moved to one single location.
okay, so that's why those are all removed.
Okay, and then is 9-83. Why is it called Community Development Department? And I said the cemeteries came from Fulton County and they just called it a department, but that's one of those cases where I'm fine if you just change it to
Sounds good.
director, so, or whatever
Yep.
you do. Yeah, okay. So those are
Does that
those.
say for everywhere where it says submit to the department, we can say submit to the director? Because it's
Right.
all throughout the code.
Right, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that'll shorten it a lot, actually, over the course of
Okay.
500 pages.
Yes,
or whatever
okay.
we are.
Okay, so those are those, and then we can go, I have of the other ones. I do this.
Good job, Fred.
Good job, Fred.
Yep, well done.
Nicely done.
We'll do our section next time.
Yeah, you want to take a look, while you're there, why don't you want to take a look at Article 2? and Article 10?
Okay, let me see, I think I have Ron somewhere else.
Oh, fine, that hurts. We know you're seriously calling Rob.
Robin, I didn't bring my,
Okay, let me just go to. I thought I had. Maybe it's on my thumb drive. I didn't want to print all 300 lines of the other one.
of mine.
Of yours.
Yeah, I'm
So
terribly
I think
sorry.
I have it on here.
Oh, don't bother.
you have it right
I didn't
there.
bring mine.
So, but I'm trying to get it so everybody, but I could swear I brought it over. Sorry.
When I dropped mine off.
Here it
had
is.
to-
See,
my
I did
first
it.
check was,
I just
Robin,
didn't-
can you read my handwriting? It's all in the margins.
Yeah, I looked at it. It was
Yeah,
fine.
That's how
I got
mine
it
is
up.
too.
I have it
I
up.
handwrote all my corrections on through the whole thing.
She's used to getting mine.
I gotta turn this in.
She's used to getting mine. She's worried about handwriting.
So at least you.
Hers is better than yours.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
used to trying to read mine.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so that's,
Wow.
okay.
Nice job, Ron. You,
So recommended
Extend
changes,
your,
clarifications,
Ron's
6-4.
yeah.
The map is pretty fuzzy. Is there, but yeah, we can give you a better map.
Okay.
So
Good.
we can, so those are old maps, so
Yeah,
we'll
yeah. Just
create some new maps. The third line down, page 6-6. So you're looking at the clean version, right? When you're giving references.
Yes, I'm looking at the clean version. Let me just try to catch up here.
Oh, this is the section 6-6,
No, 6.6 is the page number.
6.2.3A.
Yeah, that's for landscaping.
Landscaping.
And again, fairly, while I was moving from 2 to 3, I was advised to get rid of all of that. So I obviously missed it here because there is no longer a requirement. A 952 is somewhere else, right?
Required when. Right, so I just wanted to make it easier and just, it's 20 foot no matter
It's always
what.
required.
It's-
Yeah, we
it's-
can,
it's
we can
always
say
gonna be
that.
20
That's,
foot, yeah,
that's
and
the
get
easiest
rid
way
of
to say it.
that, get rid of that reference because it gets, yeah. Okay. So is that okay, Ron? We're just gonna keep it at 20. It's very, we only have a small area of Highway 9 or the rural, yeah, you're in the State Route 9 overlay district, right? And so we only have a small area that even applies to.
Okay.
So if we just say straight 20 foot, then it's fine.
Okay, that's fine
Yeah.
because there was no.
Yeah, it'll
the
just make it
reference didn't work.
easier. And then 6.2.7, in order to have the same intensity of light, suggest specifying kelvins. Bulbs may be the same wattage, but have different brightness of,
Soft
say,
white.
soft white.
Sorry, I just got progressive lenses and I'm like having trouble seeing stuff, so bear with me. Okay, so 6.8, and this is gone, and then,
So you're on number 4 now, right? Question
Number
4.
three,
So
yeah.
Number 3.
Yeah, he's just catching up with that.
Yeah. Would it be okay if we just said or equivalent? I think a lot of them, I'm not comfortable translating them into Kelvin, but I know a lot of times.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think what we should be doing is seeking out an expert who can give us what we're looking for here, and that is a consistent measure of light. If you're the engineer who knows that, great. If you're not, I think we need to find someone, because we repeat this problem over and over again where we don't seek out experts to give us what we need here, sound ordinances and so forth. And I think we just owe it to ourselves to do it right.
So.
I mean, it's easy to change or equivalent, but I mean, I'm definitely not the person to
Right.
determine what the level of brightness should be.
So, I mean, let me see, would you like us to seek out an expert on it and see what the correct verbiage would be?
I think the objective is to get consistency as far as what our light's going to be under different circumstances. I might start with looking at code in adjacent communities, see what they do. Have they got something that's a little more consistent than what might happen with the way this is written? Give us a more consistent result. I think you need to be the judge about how far you need to go to. If the goal is to give a consistent measure of light, then I think we need to seek out whoever we need to go to get it. If we can cherry pick it from Alpharetta, do it. If not, we need to figure out how to do it, I think. Otherwise, we're just knowingly inserting variability in our own standards here, in our own code.
Okay. Let me just make a note about it. Okay.
Number 4.
Yeah, number
which is
4.
the next one. Caleb, I'm referencing 3 different sections here.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I had pushed it back during Fred's section. Here I'm referencing 3 different areas. They're all doing the same thing. They're saying the maximum building height is going to be, the first one says 30 feet, the second one says 28 feet, the third one says 30 feet. And I don't know why there was a variance there. But if there's a reason for the variance, I'm good with that. But if there's no reason for the variance, then my concern is one of consistency. And could we just select one of the heights?
So I think some history. So we've kind of fragmented Highway 9 overlay district over the years. So Highway 9 overlay used to be the entire area that's now Deerfield form-based code. So we would look at Morris Road differently than we would say Webb Road.
Right.
Or Bethany Bend Road. And so that's why there's that differences. That's why we excluded Morris from 30 feet, because it would have higher heights. So I think, and then the 28 foot.
That's rural Milton.
That's rural, yeah. So we can kind of clean all that up, right? As far as.
If it's not a political issue, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we need to
I've been
make
very
it make
conservative
sense.
about
I'm just looking for ways to simplify things. So.
Yeah, so we'll look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to be, yes. So let me say that. I mean, my druthers would be to get rid of Highway 9 overlay district and just include it in Deerfield, but that just didn't seem like it was during the comp plan. I kind of kept on using other people to suggest it, and it just didn't catch on. So I can only do what I can do from a policy standpoint. So, maybe that'll happen sometime, but let's just make it as easy as possible, because there's literally like so little land left. There's some on Bethany Bend near McGinnis Ferry as you go up toward Highway 9, and that is it. That is literally really the only area of State Route 9 overlay district. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Questions about this?
Okay, next one is section 631B. Should the table include references to non-single family uses that will require sewer? Do we
Oh,
have
yeah.
sewer in rural Milton?
Yeah, we have duplexes, temporary mobile home, I don't know how they got there, multifamily dwellings. These are
So this
all
is-
higher
Oh,
intensity.
okay, this is our,
But this is in the rural Milton matrix. And I didn't know whether we had area that might accommodate duplexes.
so I mean, technically, the only place that we have sewer is rural Milton is technically the manor, but we don't serve it.
Right, that's it. So these other things being in the matrix here, why are they needed? So if you look at the matrix,
Right,
under non-single family uses, you got duplexes and provisions for duplexes,
Right.
multi-family dwellings.
Yeah, I mean-
And on the following page, you have townhouses, all of which would have more units to them than on a given acre.
right.
The
right.
one, right? So,
So there is areas of rural Milton on the lower part of Hopewell Road where Fred lives, that's considered rural Milton. There is actually
Right.
some sewer. I agree, it probably would never have townhomes there. There wouldn't be multifamily dwellings. Yeah, so we can look at that and
Yeah, just-
see to
'cause
make
of
it more consistent.
yeah, if they aren't needed,
Right,
no confusion.
okay. Good point. Okay. Next one is 6-23. Consider moving the following sentence.
Now, this is more of an editorial comment, I believe. Just let me get to it.
Back down.
F.
So
Okay.
editorial. Okay, you got that? Okay.
But, did you find, I'm still going back and forth, did you find what I was referring? I think there was, this clause ended up at the end of the paragraph or end of the section, and it would just be much clearer if it was up at the top. Sorry, I didn't bring mine with me.
Trying to make it smaller so we can see it. What am I doing wrong?
Milton, commercial.
This will serve to explain what a crossroads community is. Consider removing the following sentence and using in the first sentence. F.
Oh.
6.3.4G. And,
That's right.
and
this was
using
just-
it as a first sentence in F. CDF.
This is really just helping to understand define more what a crossroad is.
Here we go.
Commercial
Call it
building.
crossroads community. It's just this piece here. In Milton, commercial buildings are built. So it would be to move this provision
Up to F.
to F. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Got that. So the next one is page 6-25, 6.3.4G, and the 19th line down before removing sentence. Commercial buildings consider removing the word these. Okay, you got that.
We can-
then the 20th line before removing sentence in Milton commercial, consider splitting the long sentence into two sentences. Yeah. While, which could read blah, blah, blah. So you have this. Okay. 6-26, no more than 20% of any exterior wall may consist of glass or architecturally treated precast stone. If not, then it should be reworded in another way.
What's the question here?
I'm sorry, I didn't bring my notes with me, my complete notes. I
Oh, no
grabbed the
more
wrong-
than 20%
I grabbed
of
the
an-
wrong ones, so I'm having trouble finding where I have it here. I would punt on that one. Found an earlier draft of it here. I don't think I need that.
I think the only thing that it may have needed a comma. So consists of glass or architecturally treated precast stone. We'll have to check what it says today. I think it probably does say this, but he's correct. It's weird.
Okay, we'll look into it.
Okay.
The language is unusual. Okay.
Okay. Same page, suggest the following roof material shall be made out of the following: asphalt shingle.
Oh, I think there it's just a suggestion of listing them as opposed to running them together with commas,
Yeah, okay.
just to make it more easier for someone to find things. Additionally, what I would say, and I said this on some other point in here, when you have a list, it's easier, I think, for me, it's easier if it's alphabetized as opposed to jumping all around because if I'm looking for, is X in there, I'm reading the entire list, but otherwise I could go to that part of the alphabet and say, it's there or it's not.
Okay. 6-27, section 6A, unless there's a reason to list elements in the way that they are currently, would recommend listing. Okay, yeah.
Is that that was the alphabet?
And we did that in the use provision that I completely rewrote from basically scratch, but some of those areas we just carried over. We didn't change, so we'll go ahead and do that.
Okay.
Okay, and then same page, prohibited building needed since there is only one sentence that follows, and it is the following
Got it.
building component shall. Okay, so is that good? Okay. 6-30, eliminate the there in line 3. 6.3.5D.
Simplify anything.
We can find it.
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll
there's some
find it,
point in
yeah.
making the-
6-42 refers to the comprehensive plan, which comp plan on page 6-42.
I mean, it would be.
Whatever's the current one, right? So,
That would be 2040 if it's the current
well,
one.
I don't think you want to say 2040 because in another 5 years or 10 years, it'll be different.
Yeah,
So-
I believe that is one of those definitions where we say the comprehensive plan of the city of Milton, which is going to change every 5 years.
So you're referring to the current one then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the most recent, because
More
we
than-
can amend it, or we can recommend to city council to amend it between the 5 years.
Yeah.
You could, yeah.
So the
But you're
most
saying in
recent-
the
I
definitions,
believe
it'll
it's in the
have-
definition.
Most recent approved comprehensive plan?
It's a plan. I want to say this
That would do it.
right here.
says comprehensive plan, a set of documents approved by the city council which sets forth desired long-range development patterns for the city of Milton, Georgia.
Doesn't say currently in
Yeah,
use
it's
though,
just say
right?
like something like the latest. That's what I noted in my Review of the
Okay.
definitions. Yeah. Most recent, latest, something to that effect. So,
Most recent approved.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Yeah, we
Page-
mentioned a manager on that one, and did,
that's old language. Let's see, 6-46, because when we first became a city, it was something about a manager, 6-46. Page
just in the upper left-hand corner, the number 2, paragraph number 2.
6.4.2E2.
About 6 lines down.
Just hit it, sorry. Sensitive. Okay, of the manager, yep.
What?
Lockwood?
No.
Got it.
I'll take one.
Okay.
That would be the director.
Good, you want
Two
water?
Lockwoods.
Thank you. Rudy, you're
Still
okay?
good.
All right.
Yes, yeah, director. Okay.
Is that supposed to be the director then? Okay. The next one, there are 4 pages here. It's all about trees. And in the first one, it said shade trees, a 5-inch caliber every 30 feet. The next page says, okay, trees, 2.5 to 3-inch caliber every 30 feet. The following one, 2.5 to 3. And the last one noted there is we're back to shade trees, 4-inch calibers every 30 feet. As I read it, these were all similar trees that are being used for the similar purpose. Oh, and by the way, I should mention that this is in section 6. I believe in section 7B, there's a discussion about trees, and instead of going into this detail, for similar uses, it was talk to the city arborist. And so that, first of all, there was an inconsistency in the way we were treating it. And then with these, it struck me that I don't understand why we'd be making the differentiation in those particular locales.
Yeah, these are all
And-
current, so if you.
And why it shouldn't all be, let's just pick a number and do it. Or let's just say, call the city arborist and her number is,
Well, it's all over, it's very.
It's all
specific.
over, okay. But it's in
A lot of it's in rural Milton, I would say.
Ron, part of the thing, you pay a lot more for a 5-inch caliber tree than you do for a 2.5 when you're installing it.
Sure.
Like it's a significant price difference because it's more,
Yeah,
generally
here's
it's
one.
more mature, but it
Would be.
depends on the type of tree too.
yeah.
I
So
think,
maybe we just look at it and make,
well, I think the arborist should
because,
also.
yeah, I would think the arborist should, I
You know,
can have her look at
typically,
it.
I'm not telling Milton, obviously, what the right answer is, but most cities will do, typically a 3. The problem is they're never precise, so you have a range. That's what the 2.5 to 3 inches intended to accommodate is that range.
Right.
But it obviously is something that you'll want to check with the arborist on and make sure that they don't have a preference.
Okay.
But I agree, it should be the same.
Okay.
And just from background, even this rural Milton really came from the Northwest overlay district. So this is like 25 years old or 20 years old. So definitely we can.
The 5 is pretty big.
Yeah, that's
That's
huge.
huge.
I know. Yeah, we'll get this fixed. Okay. Okay, issues for future. -5, set forth requirements for outdoor amenities. Why don't we consider ways to incentivize indoor amenities such as theaters, gyms?
Yeah, and here I was thinking about when we redevelop the Deerfield Route 9 area, if there are large developments, maybe there'd be an opportunity for something like that.
Right, if this is in that section, I think that's
it's-
again, old stuff, so we can look at that. I mean, it's kind of a policy change. I think that's
Well,
why Caleb is like, he's
yeah,
kind
that's-
of left
that's-
everything alone.
Yeah, that's why it's in this section for future discussion.
Okay, for
This is-
future
this is
discussion.
the-
Okay, good point. Okay, and then the other one is consider types of trees that are appropriate under electrical wiring, restricting the type.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and I think-
the notion here is observation, we plant trees under or adjacent to, they're coming through on a regular basis and, chopping them off at the top. Maybe we should think about not only specifying that these type of trees belong under, but a certain spacing from them as well, so that when they do grow up, they won't be conflicting, we won't be chopping them off. It's something I think we
Yeah,
need to
so I think
think about.
that the arborist is just
Good
from a
point.
day-to-day development standpoint, she looks at that very carefully when developers will say, I want to put this tree on this side. And she's like, wait a minute. She looks and she sees there's electrical lines. And then I think she probably, and I can double check in the tree ordinance, whatever trees are permitted, let's say for landscape strips, may be limited to the type of trees that would be more compatible under that. But I will say from a day-to-day applicability, she definitely looks at what goes into landscape strips and what's done. So, but yeah.
Okay.
And also, if you want to change the zoom right now, you can,
Okay.
because you were highlighting an area that you couldn't, or you could always wrap.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that's perfect.
I don't know what happened, but anyway.
Because you were in a cell and you highlighted.
Okay.
Or you could
I'm
just
not very
wrap
good at
text
this.
for
I'm
column.
sorry.
You could extend column B and just wrap the text.
How are those progressive lenses working now?
Okay, but now I can't see it all.
I know.
Oh, I have
Okay,
the same
We'll be
problem.
medium. Okay. Okay, crabapple form-based code, page
This is-
7-14. These paragraphs deal with tree planting and should include a required caliper
Yeah,
for planting.
I think
Okay.
that's part of it.
it's part of that
Okay.
last discussion.
Okay,
EDRs, that's,
okay, what, oh,
Okay.
sorry,
Yeah, TDRs, wait, is this one?
what they want.
It's just basically, I was calling out that we need to revisit
In
it.
Deerfield, it's very generous.
Yeah. And
Okay,
so
yeah.
I think we need to go back and look
That's
at
a good
that.
point.
And I have another TDR thing in here as well. Oh, yeah. It allows in the crabapple, it allows, if you put parking places in, you get building units.
Say that again,
the underground parking.
yes.
Yeah, if
yes.
you
You get you get
You get
density
units.
bonus.
And I think what may have happened here was we never used TDRs, or at least not very extensively in crabapple. And as I was thinking it through, by virtue of having created that rather large parking structure over there, they were able to get a lot of credits.
Density, yeah.
Yeah, for density. And I'm thinking that if we didn't have that, we would have had an opportunity to have some TDR discussions with them, which would be preserving some of Milton. And so I wanted to call
Right.
that out. So
Yes, that's definitely a policy issue to look at.
I almost think that, I recommend here is let's get rid of the parking lot idea and just bring it back to what this is supposed to be. And we're supposed to be incenting TDRs here as opposed to parking lots.
Okay.
What's the next one here? Oh, yeah. I just called out, I think in the T2, it had a lot width
Of 100.
of 100 and we're going for 150, I believe. And so I just wanted to call out that for conformance purposes, we don't want to,
Yeah, we're working
as
on a
that other
text
thing goes
amendment to
forward.
Make it to 150.
Yeah,
In AG1.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, in the T2, that makes it a little different than AG1 is they have to have 100-foot on the road. So you cannot do flag lots at all. And then also when you create these subdivisions, which we really haven't had any, except we have a proposed one across from the high school, that you're supposed to create a block structure. And it's very, very hard to create a block structure with 1 acre lots. And so basically to increase it to 150 would basically make it impossible. So I think I get what you're saying to be consistent.
Yeah.
But even though I like to call T2 kind of the equivalent of AG1, it really isn't the equivalent because of the form-based code requiring it to be block structure. And anyway, that's just my point about that.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine. It's large now, larger than 35. It's a
Yeah,
bigger
it's 100,
yeah.
yes.
So
Yeah.
this is,
Okay.
Okay, here we go. What is this?
So,
Oh, we're in 7B now. Deerfield.
correctly addressed landscape, it does mention 3 documents.
Oh.
Five-acre road, the.
Okay.
20-foot
Oh.
strip here.
Yeah, I think it's K4, and that's section 7B 11A that's in blue. That does not discuss landscape buffers.
So that's what we took out, right? That 7, is that is it hyperlinked to that?
It's a word error. Yeah, so I hate Microsoft, let me vent. When you actually click it, it goes to the landscape buffer section. So I'll try to fix it, but it's a word.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
I see what you're
It's
saying.
supposed to be an auto update and it auto links to the correct section, but it obviously is not
Not doing it here.
not having the correct reference in the actual text. But
Okay.
the link is correct, which is good. I don't know why they're doing that.
Okay. Section of undisturbed net and refers to, this section is about commercial uses. Is there more specific?
7B 368.
Dash 88.
788, okay. Yeah, that is a use provision. I'm gonna have to check that one.
Okay.
It's basically just saying that buffers that are required along streams
You
don't
can't-
count.
As the civic space, yeah.
That's actually already in here, okay?
Okay. 7-89 is the use of shall being used in this since it is not clear as must also. But I thought we were going to change that to shall to.
Yeah, that's the idea. I want to just make sure that, see what that one says.
780.
Yep, we'll change that. We
Okay.
can change that.
90.
790, the second and third lines down reference public frontages, table 4A, but table 4 is thoroughfare assemblies. Multiple table, 3 variations contain public. So I guess it's just referring to the.
Here we go, okay. Okay, we'll double check that. Thought that was public frontage, but. Okay, yeah, it may have, it's 3A. It's supposed to be 3A.
Okay, we'll fix that. 7-93, the last sentence may need some clarification as reads, may encroach as does the porch. Does this refer back to the previous sentence about open porches?
It just wasn't, I didn't find it to be clear when I read it, but I will admit to having been brain dead when I was reading this section. Ken, with the porch and the, where's it again? It just wasn't clear to me at the time how much you could go over as I read it.
Yeah, so basically what this is trying to say is balconies on porch roofs may occupy the full depth of the porch to the same extent as the porch. So if you're a balcony
Yeah.
and you don't have a porch below you, you're limited to the 25%. But if you have a full service porch, a full size porch, you can have a balcony on top of the entire porch.
Okay. I understand, I think. I'm still a little brain
You're
dead.
not required to do only a quarter of your porch roof as a balcony is basically what it's trying to say.
So if you get a porch, you get a full
Yeah.
balcony.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, 96, the third line down references section 11.4, but in blah, 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 the reference to another section is stated.
We'll check, yeah.
Yeah, we'll check that.
I'm going to
Okay.
go through all of these. I think
Yeah,
the word
he'll
messed up.
have this, yeah. The second line references table 2BF, but that table could not be located in 7B.
Okay, yeah, we'll just.
Okay. Dash 9, comply with the fire prevention, section 12 point, that section deals with review bodies like the DRB. Is that
Correct.
the
That's
leftover?
yeah, we
from
had
each of the
originally had the fire code in here and we ended up taking it out because it's not, it's.
So
we need to correct
that'll
that
get
one.
rid of that. We'll get rid of that reference.
Okay, thank you.
Or you'll just replace it with
The correct.
the correct reference, yeah.
correct provision.
799, instead of listing the information, use a table like one and,
Okay.
okay. Pages 7102. Each of these paragraphs contain the word facade. The word also appears without the accent under the letter C. So we eliminate the accent mark and
Yes.
conform to English. Okay.
And this is, I found, or I made this in suggestion in section 7B, but facade appears elsewhere with the Sadia too.
Yeah.
So global search or whatever.
Section 7 with this data. Did I already do that one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Walk 7-0111 under the heading, the picture of the sidewalk with a Y formation does not match the picture of a assembly with a T format.
Oh, yeah. This is,
Table 3B.
it's the, let's see here. Okay. Oh, I think it's just the inconsistency in the measurement, 6 versus 8. So, so if you go to the extreme right column, for walkways, it's talking about a 6-foot minimum, and the rest of them are all 8-foot minimums.
Mhm.
So I didn't understand the logic as to why we'd go to 6 as opposed to having everything be 8. Or everything be 6.
So the question is, why do we have, and why under every street except 5 Acre Road, do we have a 6-foot tree zone versus a wider 2 to 12 on Windward?
No. I'm looking at the one on sidewalks. If you look at sidewalks,
Sidewalk, okay.
it's 8 all the way across, but the last column is 6 foot.
Okay, yeah.
So why aren't they all 8 or why aren't they all 6? But why did, I don't
Why did we
understand.
make it 6 feet on other streets? Yeah, so the idea there, I finally understood you.
I'm sorry.
These are for really side residential streets, and 8 feet is much better for a commercial roadway where you're going to have more traffic, more commercial uses. And so 6 is really intended for those that would occur within a development.
Okay.
Sorry, it took me a while.
No, that's all right. I was looking for the logic and now that's good. We did that one just now.
Is that the same?
Oh, wait, are you on, which one were you on?
I'm on
Number
number
14?
13, page 7.
Oh, 13 we just talked about. Maybe I skipped ahead. I'm sorry. Oh, this. I'm trying to remember this now. Hold on a second. Oh. The sidewalks in A, assembly, out in the right-hand column, versus the walkway down, or the sidewalk down in, same column in row C, are both called Y walkways, but one's more of an X. And I don't know whether you were trying to, whether you're just painting with a broad brush, that you consider them both to be the same kind of walkway, or?
Yeah, the question I think is why are some of these different?
Yeah. I understand what a Y, but the other one was more of an X.
Yeah, and why is this one? I'll have to look into that. I mean, this was all from the smart code.
Yeah, this is all the
So,
original stuff, yeah.
That was 5 years ago, and then this was a document that we downloaded from a third party and we updated. So I'll have to check why that is wrong.
Okay.
So we're on 14. The width of the planter for State Route 9, 30 says minimum 10 foot across according to 7B35G1 instead of 10 feet as listed in the table.
So 7B. State Route 9 over 35 is, where does it say 10?
Just a second.
Both locations. The only difference is it should be the street trees.
Minimum 10 feet instead of 10 feet as listed in the table.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to find it here. This is. Oh, it's just the inconsistency between the section and the table, I think.
Okay, well, we have the cross-reference, so we'll just have to
Okay.
check with Robin and figure out which
And
one
the-
it is.
Okay, the next one is the same sort of thing with a 4-foot planters, I think.
Number 15 is very similar.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Okay, and then 16, number 16, page 711, section 7B54, should 5-acre road be included in this table? No, because it's kind of a sub-district that was very specific to 5-acre road. So I think it came after
It came
this table.
afterward.
And so it's scattered in different section of non-table issues. So it's its own
It's its own thing.
It's its own entity, so
Okay.
that's why it's not.
I sort of figured it was out there for that
Yeah.
reason.
Parking placement, page 7-126. The third sentence, should there be an additional verbiage after trash containers shall be stored?
Yeah, well, I think that is probably a transcription error. Maybe even be a Muni code like that, but see how it's cut off? We'll have to check. right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, we'll fix
This also
that.
does
Okay.
it up there.
Okay. So issues for future discussion, tree planting requirements in each of the 3 articles are presented differently. In some cases, a caliper should be.
Yeah,
So we can look at it.
We talked
and then,
about
yeah.
that. And the last one, I was focusing on stormwater and in 7B. And I realized that in the comprehensive plan, we talked about stormwater treatment or handling of stormwater. And it was suggested that we promote the use of stormwater or rainwater for the purpose, gathering in cisterns and using it for landscape watering. And so since we're thinking about Deerfield more broadly, about redeveloping the area, this would be a perfect time to insert something like that into the conversation so that when developers do redevelop, there's a requirement for them to put a cistern in.
That's a big, I would say that's
The
more of a
policy.
policy
Yeah, but
question.
that will-
Oh, that's
like
right.
your
That's why it's
future
in,
discussion.
that's why it's in this section.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And that's it. And I apologize to my colleagues for taking so much time.
We know you get an A for effort
this-
and for quality,
No,
so.
No, I do appreciate your comments. As you can see, you asked, I've done it in Word, and it's been very frustrating because any of you who know Microsoft products know that they have their quirks, and so obviously we found some more tonight.
Yeah. So, but
We should compensate
do you-
Ron to go through the rest of it.
Judy, do you want to go? I made copies of yours just for us to look at. Do you want to go through your comments? They're not a huge number, so, or do you want him just to look at it?
He can look at it.
What's that?
If you give it back to me, I can.
How many pages is it?
Yeah.
I can,
I mean, that's something we could do,
Let's see.
follow up one-on-one. I mean,
I think Robin clarified it.
rather than having all of us sit here going through
Yeah.
this.
But when we say
Would everybody be willing to
I
do
think it'd
that?
be more efficient, yeah.
starts out,
But we can,
Do- do
if
we
he has
just
a
call
question,
applications are on
if
the
they have a
next
question,
page.
then they can go back to Robin
Yep.
or
Correct.
directly.
Correct.
To
So I don't
us.
think all of us need to sit here.
Applications
and go like, "Oh, you did an extremely good job. Well done.
Ron's retired.
Believe
and
me,
can-
Yeah.
I don't even know how you.
I just marked all mine up. I just marked up.
I don't know.
And I had
Yeah.
already kind of mentioned some of
Long time.
mine about references to laws, that it should be that, and
Yeah.
references to,
Yeah, I think we
what
should,
is it, you know,
yeah, Robert, I think we should do that. I think, you should follow up, individually on those
Okay.
sections, because I don't think all of us need to sit here and hear about, and go through these. 'Cause
and
I added no value to it, Ron's last half hour.
I think to the commissioner's comment, what I might like to do is add a provision right up in front, which says where this Unified Development Code references a state or federal law or a city policy document, it shall refer to the most current version or something of that effect. That's pretty common in a lot of codes. I don't think Milton has it today, so we'll put something like that.
But if you can still put, I don't know if there's a definition
yours.
of even, is
That's
it
my
the
original.
federal code? I don't know if it was, what was it, CFR or something like that. If there's somewhere what CFR even stands for, at least in one spot, so that way, and then you've got that acronym or whatever, so that way it's somewhere in the document so people know what regulation or where they need to go to for the federal code if they need to look at it.
Had the tree canopy ordinance.
I did.
Right, you did, and then you were okay with it in general. I mean, we have some things to discuss as related.
So I assume that you guys have been involved in like reviewing, crafting this for a long time.
Well, the tree canopy went on and on.
Not
it's
just
still
tree
on
canopy,
some
but the
arts.
whole document?
This whole document?
No?
Nope.
Because I feel like I'm reading a foreign language, trying to get caught up on, like, I wouldn't have made a lot of the connections that you've made on this didn't match that, because I just don't know the document very well yet. Good job.
Well, thank you, but I think it's probably better that you didn't because you won't be brain dead.
No, that might be the problem, though. So honestly, I think I should go back and review my documents in a different way.
Better idea of what's the.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say the tree canopy ordinance was just
It's brand new.
revised a
Right.
couple years ago, and there was lots and lots of work toward it. So I think you probably got one of the easier ones because it is so recent. So
Well,
definitely, if
true.
you want to go back through it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But hopefully, there's anything.
I do like the idea of maybe we put it under the tree ordinance that wherever a tree is required by the CUDC and the sidewalk, you have one standard. And it's in the tree ordinance versus
In all the
14 different parts of the
places.
code.
Okay.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, we can.
Just find out what the number is.
And I'll give you all of.
Did the board also determine timing or anything like that?
You
Well,
wanna,
yeah, because it was supposed to go live, the 14th of next month, 3 weeks. And I don't think we're close. I don't think.
push it a month?
So do we want to review this again as the commission one more time?
So if you could, like,
Or-
within the next month, make all the changes. Preparation of the next one.
When is it gonna be, I mean, who's gonna review in terms of like some of these? If there's sections that aren't applicable any longer in the code or something like that, which we may not, again, when you kind of emailed and said, really don't go into the weeds. I mean, unless it really just stuck out, a lot of mine are just grammatical,
Amen.
things like that, or, just to kind of clean up some of
Yeah.
that stuff.
They've, this is actually the third time we've had, how many community development staff review this? So,
I mean.
various folks over years, but obviously to make sure that we don't have something residual from Fulton that shouldn't be in there.
Right.
I had actually taken out a lot and then Robin said, no, we still use that. So she had me put a lot back in. But I do think that unfortunately falls on, someone with history to tell us what's
Yeah.
from Fulton and what
I
isn't.
think we've had references, I mean, we can work on it some more, divide and conquer. Staff has looked through it once, with the exception of a couple that have been reviewed before, so follow up on any references, codes to make.
Codes are
references,
definitely,
other
yeah,
things.
because I don't know, Construction Board of Appeals, I'm not sure if we have that. I saw that
So
in
it's-
there.
We've never,
you know.
so we do have it in the code, but we've never had to utilize it in
Okay.
15 years, so I don't think we rid of it, it's just. it's
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
I'm just giving you an
right
example,
there.
like, where we can, that'll also help too, because if there's some things that aren't applicable, and you guys go back through that and clear those out before we make one more run.
I'd like to do it concurrently, because this, I mean, I don't think there's any way that I can get through it all and then have you guys do it. But as if you'll send me your comments and then get it together. I don't want to do it separate linearly. Let's try to do our best to get everything ready for the next one. I'll have.
And I still owe you a section. I'll try to get
So
those
I've
to you
got,
Monday.
I've scanned it to myself, so I can
Okay.
email it to you.
Okay.
And then, if you
Great.
want these, I've marked them up too.
Want to send the scan?
I'll email it to you.
Okay.
I'll email you, yeah.
Okay.
So I think the next goal is still a hefty goal. I think it's a late, it's like the 27th or 28th. Try to get.
If you have a section that you think, oh, I think this is ready for, we've made the changes, we've reviewed this, we think it's ready, will you just let us know and then we can come pick it up, or you can email us that section, just so that we could possibly get another review done before the next meeting, realizing that some of it might come next week and some of it might come the week after and some the week after that.
Yeah, I doubt that there are going to be many comments in Articles 1, which is administrative, whatever we ended up calling it. Articles probably 4, the residential and commercial zones probably won't have many.
Right, that's pretty.
The big question is, yeah, use if whoever had Article 8.
Who had Article 8? Oh,
Yes.
so you had it. So
I'll
that's-
have it by Monday.
Okay.
Okay, so you'll get it back, okay.
That's honestly the part that I'm most familiar with because I had to rewrite most of it from scratch because what you had today was so convoluted and contradictory. So
Yes.
I hope you liked it.
The first 3 pages that I've read through, I did.
And everything is in alphabetical order in that one. So
Oh, it is.
yes, yep.
Yeah, I looked at that and said, okay, I'll get 11 done first and hold 8 after I have a drink tonight.
And your dog hasn't eaten it. One time
Yeah,
she
but
came
yeah,
in,
that's
her
not
packet
good. Dog
was
didn't
eaten
eat
up
it.
by
Okay.
the dog.
Well, I would only ask if we do have I guess the second one, they're coming back on the 21st to review it or late February, late September?
Yeah, late September.
Okay. Please try to give me enough time to prepare it.
Right.
Okay.
And I think that's what Judy was
Yeah.
trying to say is if like with the residential districts and the commercial districts, who had those?
I think Laura, didn't she?
Those are going to be
Yeah,
very
They're
easy.
easy.
Nothing's
yeah.
changed.
Yeah, they're pretty much.
And they're all pictures, so, and
Yeah.
tables, so there isn't a lot of work.
So yes, we will do our best to get it to you.
Good.
Well, one thing, I don't know if anyone else has had a chance to look at the new section by the city on putting all the developments that are going on in the city.
On the website.
I think it's fantastic. It may put a lot of questions, future meetings, but I think it's great. I mean, people ask all the time, what's going on in the corner of such and such? And what are they doing over here? At least I do, get questions by people all the time. I think that is just tremendous.
It's well
They're
done.
already a done deal, so you can't have any questions.
No,
They're already.
I didn't have
already
a question.
permitted.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's great to refer people.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, go online and
Thank you. Great, but thank you.
fantastic.
Pass that along.
Yeah, please do. All right.
I move
So
we
then we're not
adjourn.
having, sorry, one more, so basically, we're gonna postpone the September
Right.
out to the public, right? Okay.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Third. All in favor?
So no scan all this.
Yeah.